What's up? Today, I'm going to show you how to make a Jersey Club beat. Okay, so the beat that I was listening to recently that I thought I could kind of recreate was Sticky by Drake. That album has been pretty much like casted as like a dance album, but I've been messing with Jersey Club for a while now, and I really love the genre. So I don't have a lot of processing or anything done on this, but I kind of just want to show you guys the basics of it, especially compare it with that track Sticky after you listen to this. I did do a couple things a little bit different, but I think you guys will start to make some of your own Jersey Club edits based off of this video. So what we're gonna do first is I'm just gonna play the track, and then I'm gonna go back, kind of walk you through some of the key elements of Jersey Club, what I did, what I did differently than what some other people did, and what... Actually, I'll just stop talking and I'll just let you hear it.
Yeah, okay. Wrist so wet I might drown. Bitch, don't talk, you going out town. I done made 610 for the whole week. Plug wanna play, then I'm going OT. I done made 4, 5, 7 on what? I hop in that scat and I'm betting your block. Nigga want scrap, well let it go rock. My little nigga got it, I bet he gon' pop. I can make 10 on face, no filler. 6 got like krillin' on smoking gorilla. Couple my niggas just caught that nigga that was running off dog. I know they gon' kill him. Smoking on killer and taking your bitch on the trip and them fucked on the floor of my villa. I ain't got time for 2 things. What? These stupid ass holding their feelings. Ayy, all independent, my bitches just calling, they get it. They know that this ballin' authentic. Chocolate vanilla can't hide, so I hot out the dealer. I caught a new car and I tinted. Won't lie, little bitch had a nigga down. But now that I'm out of my feelings, I'ma stack the money so tall in the crib, it be looking like the roof came out of my ceiling. Soon as I hop in, I zoom, scooping that bitch like a spoon. I got this F in the sin like that bitch is in tune. Look at it fade when we walked in the room. Ayy, 35 Mac 10s. Ayy, I kill me, play my back end. Fucking that Shonen, I'm making her back bend. After my niggas walk in, we tagged in. Ayy, right off the back, so that she know that I'm black, but I doja that cat. She with that thong, I like them tights. You pulling that pussy to show that it's fat. Made back the back with the double up, hot the new duffel. It came with the double star, then I put the trunk inside the front. So when I'm backing up, I still front on every one of y'all niggas. Talk, then a scat, bitch, I'm back. Where have you been? $50,000 on my jack, going stupid. Back outside every time, it's a new fit. Niggas love to lie, gotta tell them what the truth is. Hot, then a scat, bitch, I'm back. Where have you been? $50,000 on my jack, going stupid. Back outside every time, it's a new fit. Niggas love to lie, gotta tell them what the truth is.
Not bad. Okay, so the first thing I want to go over is the kind of pillar, like the main thing in Jersey Club, which is that kick pattern that people have probably heard a million times before. That pattern is very popular. So it's 1, 2, 3 on the 1, so, and then it goes in like kind of like a triplet from there. So ba 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 ba. So when I'm putting the pattern together, I would literally just go duplicate, duplicate, and then shorten it, and that's what your pattern should kind of look like for 1 bar. It should just look like. It should just look like that. Now, there are other variations to this. People have done some more sporadic kick patterns and things like that to emphasize changes or phrasing and things like that in a song. But I just threw like a rap acapella that was in the same key, to be honest. There wasn't any sort of like elaborate remix of this. I kind of just threw it on there. And what you hear in Sticky too is there's not as much crazy chops that you hear in some like festival style Jersey Club. Like anything from the artist 4B is pretty popular for having like those crazy chops and these like crazy kick patterns that are pretty aggressive. But since there's a vocal that's like consistently talking, not being chopped up and going the whole time, very similar to Sticky, I kind of just kept it as like more of like just a pattern, just something for the acapella to like glide across. So that's why you don't hear any of those like crazy patterns. Sometimes with Jersey Club, the 808 is just like one note the whole way through. What I did was I kind of did like a higher 808, and then I just played it like I would on a keyboard. So it, like, the notes jumped up. But then I also have it where there's some variation going on, because this is a lot of sample-based production. So with Jersey Club, there's a lot of chops, different changes, things getting subbed in and out, because there's not a lot of, typically, there's not a lot of like melodic elements to it. It's a very like rhythmic type of production. So I try to use the 808 as a way to like almost be like a bass guitar, especially when I'm about to change phrases or mix something up. You're going to see here, I go up and down the scale. And then, so when I go down the scale, this is the pattern that I have with the 808. You might not hear this without speakers and headphones, by the way. Like how I went up and then back down to segue into the like next phrase. I just use that as a way to kind of create my own fills. Another thing too that people don't really utilize a lot, that definitely makes a big difference, is using multiple kicks. For this, I use 2 different kick samples. So the first kick sample is this, and the second kick sample is this. A lot more aggressive on the second sample for sure. The next thing I kind of want to talk about is the melody. So this loop right here. I just did a tape stop effect. I made my own. That little effect, the duck down there. So how I did that was I double clicked on the sample, split it off, made it its own thing. I put the sample into complex. And then in Ableton 11 here, I went down to the envelope section and then selected clip transposition. And then I drew my own automation for transposition here. So every 12 cents, or no, every 12 semitones is an octave, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what I did, was I kind of just go in increments of 12. If I'm not mistaken, I'm pretty sure the 12 semitones is an octave, but I've been wrong before. So someone tell me if I am wrong, please, because I think I'm right, but I could definitely be wrong. And then I did a little bit of a crossfade because it was sounding kind of weird. Another thing they did in Sticky 2 is they did kind of like an arpeggiator. So they really chopped up a lot of the notes. And you hear that a lot too in like festival style Jersey Club 2, like a bunch of different vocal chops, like a lot going on at a given time. But for this, I kept it pretty simple. And I actually, you see this one say loop and this one says bad. One of the main things I wanted to go over here is it's an extremely tedious process to do this, but it definitely is worth it. So what you're going to hear in the first one is I went through and I took all of these little volume fades and I made sure that I did it at the start and the end of each like sample when I chopped it up. Because otherwise you're going to get all these clicks and pops and it's just going to sound terrible. This is with the volume out, like the volume fades. So not a lot of clicks and pops there. And then here, this is without the fades. You can just hear those like clicks and pops. And it's something that like people don't really tell you about. But it's super tedious, but that's just one of the many things that people do to kind of achieve that sound, is they do like these tiny little roll-offs. They get like really specific, but that is how people achieve that without having those clicks and pops. I added a standard like A on the offbeat, so just a. You could even shorten that up too. I just left a little bit of distance on it. Did a slight pan to the left. Not really necessary though, because if I was to do something with this, I'd put it in for mixing and mastering. I wouldn't try to do this myself. I also added a shaker too. Really push those two into the back just to kind of fill things out on the left and right. I could probably pan them out even more, for being honest. Another cool thing you could do too is maybe if you don't have, you can even do it with both actually. You can take something called an auto pan. This will basically just push the sound left to right. So See, like if you're listening on headphones, it kind of pushes it left to right. And then what I would do is I'd actually just copy it, paste it, and then I would hit invert, because then it's going to be going back and forth. Not the same way left to right. It's going to be filling spaces back and forth. I'm just going to leave that for now, but you can use an auto pan, especially if something's just like right in the middle and that's the only element you want to use. You can use a little bit of auto pan to kind of mix it up and bounce it to left or right a bit, which is kind of fun. I added a clap here at the end. This clap sound was really harsh. It was coming in really hot at the start. So I actually just did a little roll off at the start, and then I actually pitched it down a bit too, because it was coming through hot. So, but before that, it sounded like this. It's just so sharp on that like first like section of that sample. I had to do something about it and make an adjustment. So I just dropped the pitch down -2, and then did a little bit of a roll off there volume wise. And then lastly, I have my hat. Just a standard offbeat hat, just to add some groove. A couple little effects. Nothing crazy. I actually duplicated this effect and then this effect as well, just to give you like a larger impact at the end. I'll just group this so you guys can kind of hear what that main pattern sounds like. This is pretty similar to Sticky, to be honest, so this is kind of the pattern that you're going for if you want to emulate something like that. Probably have the clap in there. Now, I would obviously, if I was releasing this, something like that, I'd probably start doing some more processing, like maybe add some reverb automation on the claps. I might do a little bit of compression. I might overdrive the shakers. It just kind of seems unassuming, but if you add an overdrive or any sort of like distortion, it can really enhance a shaker. And that was just the default on there. So if I even dialed that in more, it probably sounds pretty good, to be honest. Even just that little bit makes a huge difference. So overdriving your shakers is definitely something you guys should be doing, or definitely experimenting with if you are doing that. I guess I'll just A/B this Camel Crusher here so you guys can hear the difference. I just wanted it to hit a little bit more and hopefully add some harmonics to it so that you guys could hear it through like laptop speakers or something like that. But here. Definitely makes a difference for sure. If you're ever like wondering how I did this with the 808s, it's just Control Shift T or Command Shift T. That opens up just like a new MIDI track. And I actually dropped in an 808 sample here into Sampler, and I was lucky enough to where it said that the sample was in D sharp. So I knew that first note was D sharp. So in order to get my keyboard to actually cooperate and be playing the correct notes, I had to set that root note. So down here in Sampler or in Simpler, if you're using Ableton, your default's going to be like your C3. So what I did was I knew that this note was D sharp. So if I, for example, with the root note here, it says it's C, right? If I were to hit C on the keyboard right now, it would actually be playing a D sharp of that 808, because that's what it's saying the root note is. But when I say the root note is actually D sharp, when I play D sharp, it'll be a D sharp. When I play C, it'll be a C. When I play E, it'll be an E. So it's important to set that root note if you're using a sample. In Jersey Club, you definitely want to add maybe 2-3 kicks in there to switch things up. An offbeat hat is cool. A clap over top, almost acting as like a ride, is also really cool. Adding some vocal samples, maybe a shaker, a tambourine of sorts, when you're really getting busy on like a chorus or something like that's cool. And then if you're having just like one loop, one sample that you're using that's a melody, I recommend like playing around with tape stop. Definitely use some sort of arpeggiator or make your own like I did here. Just so you guys can change things quickly in a song. You know, every like, what is it, like 4 counts or 4 bars, there should be some sort of element change, something going on. You're either adding or taking something away to keep the song moving or that edit moving. Typically, there's a lot more samples, like a full song project file, even though people think Jersey Club is sometimes super simple. I've seen project files be like 60 long or 60 deep. So if you're really doing it and you're really layering sounds like bed squeaks, water drops, whip cracks, standard stuff you hear in Jersey Club or any sort of like sound like that, it can be just as much, if not more, than a regular production that you see in like a more common genre of music, like a pop song or something like that. If you guys want to see me actually like try to process this, how I would kind of go about like really spicing it up if I was going to package this and send this out as like an edit or something like that, just let me know. I'd be happy to take a crack at it, but there's definitely some people that I would send it to for sure if I actually wanted to have it like mixed and mastered and really have that clean sound, to be honest. All right, everyone, that wraps it up for today's video. Hopefully you guys learned something new. Hopefully you learned a little bit about a new genre, maybe something you've never heard of before. If you need some good references, I definitely would recommend checking out DJ Slink. That's the first person I heard. Rel, I think I'm saying that right? Unique for more of like festival EDM style. A lot of the original like 4B stuff that he did when he was first like starting that project. All of that stuff is good. Oh, Teez, Teez. If you're looking into Jersey Club, those people are great. They're making great Jersey Club right now, and they have a lot of great past Jersey Club tracks too that helped pave the way for a lot of people. But like I was saying, if you learned something new in this video, make sure to like, subscribe, all of that good stuff. Greatly helps us out over here, and we really appreciate it. But I have just DJ'd 2 gigs today and just had a cup of coffee to get me through the last like 15 minutes. So I'm going to go to bed, and I'll see you guys next time.